Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are going on a tour of maybe the most important structure in the entire universe, the cell. Seriously, it's the building block of absolutely everything that's alive. Yep, that includes you. So get your microscopic tour bus tickets ready, because our journey is about to begin.
So, what if I told you that right now there are literally trillions of tiny, bustling cities working away inside of you? I'm talking cities with power plants, factories, highways, and even a central government. Well, that's pretty much what a cell is, and we're about to become tourists in this incredible metropolis we're going to call Cell City.
Okay, before we hop on the bus, let's get the official definition down. A cell is the basic structural and functional unit of all known life. Just think about that for a second. It is the smallest possible thing that we can consider truly alive. Everything from a single little bacterium to a gigantic blue whale is built from these incredible self-contained little worlds.
Right. Every good tour needs a map. So let's start with a bird's eye view of our city and take a look at the two main types of city plans that exist out there in nature.
Okay, so you've got two fundamental city plans for life. Over on the left, you've got prokaryotic cells. You can think of these as kind of simple villages. They're genetic blueprints, they're just coiled up in the town square, more or less. But on the right, you have eukaryotic cells. These are the complex, sprawling metropolises. They have a secure, central city hall, which we call the nucleus, to protect their blueprints, plus a ton of other specialized buildings called organelles. Our tour today, we're focusing on this more advanced eukaryotic city.
So, what are the main districts of our city? Well, first you've got the cell membrane. This is like the city's border, controlling everything that comes in and out. Now, most cities, like the ones in animals, just have this flexible border. But some, like plant cells, they add a rigid cell wall on the outside for extra security. Everything inside that border is the cytoplasm, the bustling environment where all the action happens. And right in the middle of it all, we have the nucleus, our city.
All right, let's head to our first stop, the industrial heart of the city. This is where all the essential products that keep this place running are made, processed, and shipped out.
Welcome to the endoplasmic reticulum, or just ER for short. I want you to picture a massive, tangled network of roads and assembly lines, all made of these tubes and flattened sacs called cisternae. This whole system crisscrosses the entire city, and it's absolutely essential for making and moving stuff around.
Now, the ER isn't just one big thing. It's got two specialized divisions. On the left is the rough ER. Why is it called rough? Because it's covered in these tiny little protein-making machines, which gives it this bumpy texture. This is the main spot for building proteins. Then on the right, you've got the smooth ER. No bumps here. It has a totally different job. It produces other crucial stuff like lipids, fats and oils. And it also helps break down toxins. It's kind of like the city's specialty workshop.
So, what about all those bumps on the rough ER?
Well, those are ribosomes, and they are the city's tireless construction workers. They have one incredibly important job: protein synthesis. Basically, they take a copy of the city's blueprints from the nucleus, and, piece by piece, they assemble proteins. And these proteins become everything from the steel beams of the city's buildings to the specialized tools that make everything else work. They're amazing.
Okay, so once the ER makes all these proteins and lipids, where do they go? They get sent to the city's central post office, the Golgi body, which you might also hear called the Golgi apparatus. Here, all the materials get sorted, tweaked, packaged up, and then addressed for delivery.
So let's take a closer look at how this post office actually works. As you can see, the Golgi body is basically a stack of flattened sacks, kind of like pancakes. Raw materials show up from the ER on one side. As they travel through the stack, they get modified and sorted. Then finally, on the other side, they're bundled into these little transport bubbles called vesicles, which get shipped off to wherever they need to go. It's the city's master of logistics, for sure.
Any busy city produces a lot of waste. So how does Cell City stay clean? Well, it's got a dedicated sanitation crew called lysosomes. These are basically little sacs filled with powerful enzymes that just break down and digest waste, old cell parts, even foreign invaders. They are the ultimate recycling center.
Now, all this manufacturing and shipping and cleaning, it takes a ton of energy. So our next stop on the tour is to see where all that power comes from. Let's go visit the city's power plants.
And here they are, the mighty mitochondria. You've probably heard them called the powerhouse of the cell, and believe me, it's for a very good reason. These little organelles are responsible for taking the city's fuel, things like sugars, and converting it into usable energy for every single thing the cell does.
So how do these power plants actually generate all this energy? Let's walk through it. First, check out the structure. It's got this smooth outer membrane and then a super folded up inner membrane. Those inner folds are called cristae, and they are the key. They create a massive surface area for a really complex chemical assembly line, a process with a fancy name, oxidative phosphorylation. This whole process efficiently converts fuel into a special high-energy molecule called ATP. The best way to think of ATP is as the city's batteries, fully charged and ready to power absolutely everything.
Okay, time for a quick detour. We're heading to a district that you'll only find in plant cell cities. These are called plastids, and they're specialized resource centers that produce and store food for the city.
Let's look at two main types of plastids. On the left, we've got chloroplasts. These are basically tiny solar power plants. They've got this green pigment called chlorophyll, and its job is to capture sunlight to create food in a process we all know as photosynthesis. Then on the right, you have chromoplasts. Think of these as the city's art department, because they store all the colorful pigments. That brilliant red of a tomato or the bright yellow of a sunflower, yep, that's the work of chromoplasts.
We've now arrived at our final and, honestly, the most critical stop on our tour. We're heading to the very heart of the Cell City's government and its archives, the Central Command Center. This is the big one.
Welcome to the nucleus. It's part City Hall, part Fort Knox. This is the command center that controls absolutely everything. It decides what gets built, how much energy is used, even when it's time for the entire city to copy itself. But its most important job is to protect the original, priceless master blueprints for the whole organism, the DNA.
So if we look inside, we can see the nucleus is protected by a double-walled fortress. That's the nuclear envelope. The inside is filled with this gel-like stuff called nucleoplasm. And floating inside that is the chromatin, which is really just the DNA blueprints, all tightly wound up to keep them safe. From this secure vault, the nucleus sends out all the orders and makes sure that every time a new city is built, it gets a perfect copy of those original plans.
And just like that, our tour is coming to an end. We've seen the border control, the factories, the post office, the power plants, and the city hall. So let's just put it all together with a quick recap. This chart really sums up our tour perfectly, doesn't it? We saw the cell membrane acting as the city border. The ER is the huge network of factories and highways. The Golgi body is the central post office. The mitochondria are the power plants keeping the lights on. The lysosomes are the recycling crew. And watching over it all is the nucleus, the city hall and library. It's an incredible system where every single part has a specific job, and they all work together in perfect harmony. And that brings us full circle. Our whole Cell City tour was just a way to understand this one powerful idea. This incredibly complex, organized, cooperative city, it isn't just a neat metaphor. It is the reason we can say the cell is the fundamental unit of all life. So, as we end our tour, here's one last thought for you. You are made of trillions of these sophisticated cities, every single one working tirelessly 24/7 just to create and sustain, well, you. So if each cell is a city, what does that make you? A galaxy? A universe? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us today.